Welcome back, everybody. On today's episode, we have Haunted Asylums. This is episode 5. We will be talking about certain haunted asylums, mental hospitals, insane asylums, whatever you want to call them. Haunted asylums have always been a point of interest for those in the paranormal field, ghost hunters, mediums, etc. They carry a lot of darkness, a lot of history. So in today's episode, we will be looking at 3 haunted asylums. The primary structures of the Bartonville Insane Asylum in Illinois started in 1885 and were finished in 1887. Despite the colossal costs engaged with building it, it was rarely utilized and it was destroyed in 1897. The justification for the destruction was given as an underlying and configuration imperfections. As per early reports, the palace-like structure had been developed over an unwanted coal mine shaft, and wide breaks were starting to show up in the walls. The rot was accepted to be brought about by the imploding of the old mines. In 1902, the Bartonville Mental Hospital was resumed by Dr. George A. Zeller, a trailblazer in emotional well-being. The new clinic carried out the bungalow framework, and 33 unique structures were utilized to house the patients. Numerous psychics and ghost hunters, the same concur the structure is spooky. The climate alone is sufficient to persuade somebody. An exceptionally uncomfortable inclination is a typical encounter after entering the structure. The foundation is supposed to be home to countless ghosts. A particular number can't be given yet. It is said that there is no less than 15 unique ghosts occupying this area. This is an exemplary structure for the making of ghosts because of the acts of the clinic when it was open. Electric shock was normal treatment. Numerous patients passed on from self-destruction and being abused. The most well-known reports of hauntings at this area are seeing nebulous visions of patients wearing outfits gradually strolling the corridors and rooms of the medical clinic. Unexplained cold spots are normal, as are hearing shouts and groans coming from void rooms somewhere out there. Visitors report sometimes being touched by spirits. For example, a hand being put on someone's shoulder, or a tender brush of someone walking right past them. The structure has sat there for a very long time. As a shell of its previous self, it didn't take long for accounts of supernatural experience to spring up. Various individuals have professed to have seen a few pretty creepy things while visiting. In any event, when it was open, there was ghost sightings, similar to the ones of Old Bookbinder. Old Bookbinder was actually a patient that worked with the entombment group, until the day he kicked the bucket. On the day he passed away, many people saw him as they were grieving. He was supposedly grieving with them. More than 400 individuals saw it. They opened the coffin just to make sure that he was still in there. And apparently, he still was, even though they saw him standing and grieving as well. St. John's Asylum has had many names since it was worked in 1852, with its last title coming in the mid-1960s. It was guessed that the asylum would hold around 250 patients. By the 1900s, it had formed into a local area in itself. The 1.5 sections of land incorporated a church and a graveyard, and prisoners would develop their own vegetables and had a large keep-up whereupon the clinic sat. In 2010, there was a photo that was printed in the Lincolnshire Echo, which reportedly showed a ghost at one of the windows of the shelter. Others have additionally seen bizarre things on the old grounds. One of the more notable legends of the site is that of the dim woman, who has been seen tossing a child from the clock tower before she, as well, falls to her death. There has been reports of whistling, giggling, and there has been also a report of a young lady crying. Other reports include the feeling of being watched and also being followed all around the building. Following its closure in 1989, The site has been changed over into lops and lodging, with just the fundamental refuge structures actually remaining. Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, New Jersey. Initially known as the New Jersey Lunatic Asylum, the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital had consistently given commonly generally excellent consideration to its patients since it opened in 1848. That was before Dr. Henry Cottonwood took over. During his 26-year reign at the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Henry Cottonwood performed over 645 twisted operations in which he tried to save the mentally ill. In 1907, Dr. Henry Cottonwood became the hospital's superintendent. The quack doctor wasted no time in starting his experiments on the mentally ill. According to him, he was curing their mental illness. He brought apparently new thoughts on psychological instability. Dr. Cottonwood had come to the resolution that dysfunctional behavior was brought on by contaminations of the body. To verify his wild hypothesis, he started to eliminate patients, tainted teeth, and even severed contaminated appendages. He was placed on audit in 1924 following announced worry about his techniques. However, the New Jersey State Senate in the end supported his practices. He got back to work in 1925. Since antimicrobials weren't generally utilized at that point, close to half of the doctor's patients unfortunately kicked the bucket under his consideration. The quack doctor resigned in 1930, yet the hospital kept on trying his strategies well into the 1950s. Many ghost hunters and paranormal professionals profess to have seen Dr. Cotton on the old grounds. Apparitions of some patients have been seen, some with missing appendages. In any case, no visual proof exists to back up these cases. Whether or not these places are haunted, these hospitals, these asylums, have any type of actual energy, negative energy, with so many accounts of the supernatural from so many witnesses, it's hard to say if this is actually haunted. But who am I to say that it's not haunted? That will do it for this evening. I thank you all for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. And remember, have a safe and creepy night.